Hi friends, this lesson is intended for elementary. It's the third week of April. I hope everyone has been able to get outside and enjoy this gorgeous weather and be inspired. My daughter and I have been very inspired by all the blooming flowers and trees, and we've been painting a few flowers that we found outside. So I hope you're doing some things like that as well. Today's lesson is going to be the funky cat. And so if you want to zoom in on it, friends can see this is a crazy looking cat. It does not look like a real cat because I've chosen some very colorful colors. And you may do the same. Okay, so if Sophia wants to come around, we'll start with our supplies as usual. Today you're going to need a large piece of white paper, a dark colored crayon. I have chosen black because I like the look of the black against my colorful cat, but any color crayon would do. Paints today, I have chosen blue and orange. That's what I've decided. I'm going to make my cat orange and my background blue. And you may use, if you have tempera paints at home, those work fine. These are acrylics because this is what I have at home. You may also use watercolor, would work fine. Whatever you can rummage up around the house. We need a container for water. I have chosen two brushes, one that's a little bit larger and the smaller one, I may not even use it. I'm just having it here in case I need to to paint in some smaller areas. I have a paper towel, and then I have a paper plate that I'm going to use for my palette today. Other lessons we've used a plastic lid, that works as well, or a piece of aluminum foil also works. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing our cat using the crayon that you have chosen. And how you're going to start is from the top of your paper, at least a hand's width down. We're going to start by drawing our eyes, all right? So I've got my hand here. I'm going to go a little bit further down, and I'm going to draw one of my circles here. This is the outline of my eye, a circle or an oval. All right, and then about 3 to 4 fingers away from that circle, I'm going to draw my other oval or circle that is representing the eyes of my cat. Okay, now you may decide which way your cat is going to be looking. My cat in my example is looking in this direction. I think on this particular cat, I will have this cat looking up. All right, so I'm going to draw in the irises of the cat's eye looking up. All right. Next thing I'm going to add is my nose, which if you look at my sample, the nose is simply a triangle, all right? And it's placed between the two eyes and a little bit lower down. All right, so here's my triangle. All right. And then the mouth is basically the letter J going this way.
J like Jody?
J like Jody. And the other, a backwards J. All right, so we have a smiling cat. All right.
Could I add a tongue to my cat?
You sure could. We could put a little tongue right there. Okay. All right, above my eyes now, about 2 fingers distance up, I'm going to make a straight line across that starts at the outer edge of my eyeball and goes to the other outer edge of my eyeball, approximately, okay? So that's the top of my cat's head. Next thing, I'm going to be making a line that's going to form the ear. So it's a line that is aiming out towards my corner, all right? And not too long, because this is just making my ear. One on that side and one on this side. These are the lines of my ears. Next part, I'm going to come from the top of the ear and go all the way down the paper, straight down, all right? And do the same on the other side. All right, so there's my cat, the main body of my cat. Now we get to add something fun for a collar, all right? And you can see on my sample, I just made a silly kind of frilly collar. You could make just a basic collar, which would be just 2 lines. You could make, I'm going to make a bow tie, all right? So I'm gonna start by making my bow tie right below my kitty's tongue. I'm gonna make a little small circle. And this again is almost like a triangular shape to make a bow, all right? And then I would need it to be going around my kitty. All right, so there's my bow tie on this particular kitty. And if you would like, you can also put some buttons. This one I'm not going to, I just decided I like just the bow tie. And so the last thing I'm going to add at this time is the tail for my cat. And I'm going to make it start right near the bottom, all right? And I'm just going to make it kind of crazy, all right? Kind of a long, crazy tail. All right, so there are the basic parts of my cat. You might have noticed that I did not draw in whiskers yet. I'm going to paint first because it's very hard to paint around whiskers and then add those at the end. Okay, so I think I'm going to begin by painting my cat orange, and I couldn't decide if I wanted light orange or dark orange, so I took out both colors and I'm going to mix them. All right, so here's a kind of a lighter orange, and I'm going to put a little darker orange next to it so that if I want to, I can mix those colors. I'm going to use my larger brush because this is still a pretty large area. But if I find that I need to use my small brush to come in and do these sorts of strokes, I can do that. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna mix my paints. All right, and I kind of like the way they look when they're not completely mixed. All right, so here we go. I'm going to fill in. And if we end up going outside of our crayon lines, that is no problem. We can come back and outline again. All right. This brush is kind of large for this. It's a little tricky with this, but I'll see how I can do. All right, I want to get a little in that corner there. All right, looking pretty good. Fill this in. Yeah, I think for friends, you might want to choose a little bit smaller brush just to make it a little easier for you so you're not struggling. All right. I just realized I may need to get some red paint too if I want red or pink to paint my nose and my little tongue. That was inspired by Sophia. I wasn't expecting that.
I just thought it might make him look a little crazier.
That's good. We want a funky looking cat because clearly we're not trying to make our cat look too realistic. All right. And that part done pretty well. All right, I think the head part is good. Let's go down here. This will be a little easier because I'm not going around the features. All right. All right, I'm going to try not to paint the table. And if you're doing this at home, it's always a good idea to have another piece of paper underneath so that you don't end up getting paint on your table. All right, I can see I got a little paint on the table. I will be washing the table after. All right, so now let's not forget our tail. Okay, let's try to get that a little better. And you can see I'm probably going to have to come back with a crayon to outline that a little bit. But that's fine. Okay. All right, I think I've got a very crazy looking orange cat. And if any of you have kitties at home, you can try to paint your kitty the same colors that your kitty is. Our cat is a lot of different colors. She is gray and black and a little bit of orange and kind of striped. What would you call her, Soph? Is she a tortoise or what is she called?
I don't know if she's kind of tabby-ish.
Maybe tabby-ish.
She's
Anyway.
got a lot of orange on her tummy. It's very cute.
So she would be a little tricky to paint, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm rinsing out my brush because I'm going to use this large brush again to paint my background, and I'm wiping it on the paper towel. All right, so now I'm going to get a couple of those blue colors. Whoops, see if I can reach those. And again, I just felt like I might want to mix a couple of colors. So this is a lighter blue, and this one's a little darker. Not much left in this one. We'll see if we can get anything out of it. Got a big chunk of dry stuff. Oh, not much in that one. Okay. Let's try the other one. I've got one more here. There we go. This one feels like it has a little more. There we go. I can feel that one. Ooh, but that one's kind of dried out. All right, well, let's see if that'll work for us. I think it will. So, start with that lighter blue. Let's kind of cover this up.
So can you explain why you chose orange and blue? Why do you think those colors go together?
Well, that's a very good question. I like them because if you look at a color wheel, they are opposite each other on the color wheel, which means they're contrasting colors, that oftentimes they are paired together and they look very nice together. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I chose that. I also just wanted to do something a little different than the one that I had already done. Oop, there's a little bit of dry paint in there. Let's get rid of that. And I am going to kind of make a swishy sort of a paintbrush. I don't want it to be too straight. Right.
Do you want some newspaper?
That would have been a great idea, but
There's
it's
some newspaper right there.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. Because I am getting paint on the table and I don't like that. Let me see. Let me choose something I've already read. Let's see. Well, all right, maybe this part. Let's see what that is. Oh, we go on the back of that. There we go. Ah, thank you, Sophia. Very smart. Now I can just go right along and get paint all over that and it doesn't matter. All right, and once again, remember friends, you can turn your paper. Don't be afraid to move it around so that it's easier for you to paint. Okay, and I'm finding that this paint is a little thick. So I'm going to add a little water in there. The light blue is a little thinner. It tends to spread a little more easily. So if your paint you're finding that it's really difficult to paint, you can always add a little water and it will spread more easily. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I want to do some sort of swishy. Let's see if we get a different color in there. Just make it look a little more interesting. Although we're getting some chunks of dry paint in there. Get rid of that. All right, I'm going to turn my paper once again. Come down. This part's going to be the trickiest part right in here. Okay, here we go. You can see I got a little orange in my brush there.
So if I wanted to dry my paint, is there something I could do to dry it faster?
Sure, you could use a hairdryer. And we have done that at school many times when we have projects that we have one step where sometimes we'll paint the background, and then in order to paint on top of it, we need our background to be dry. So friends are familiar with that, but good question.
So we could do the same thing with this.
Exactly. So yes, I guess if you wanted to make sure that you weren't dragging any of the paint, let's say from the cat, into your background, you could dry your cat first and then work on the background. That's a good idea. Okay, now let's see, do I like the way this looks? Let me take a look. I'm gonna spin it around. Yeah, I kind of like that background. Let's see, some more swishy lines here. Okay, what do you think, Sophia?
It looks great.
All right, so now I still have to paint my bow tie and my nose and my tongue. So I'm going to need a few other colors. I think I will use some of the blue for the bow tie just to kind of tie in the background to the kitty. But I am going to quickly grab a couple of other colors. I will be right back. All right, I got some red and some green. Okay, I decided I want to make my bow tie green and blue. All right, so I'm gonna put a little green on here. And, oh, I should have gotten a smaller brush. Hold on, I'm gonna get a smaller brush too. That one's small, but not quite small enough for what I want to do. Okay, so this is a very small brush. All right, so I think I'm going to paint the center here green. And then I'm going to make polka dots here.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, just some little polka dots. Whoops, that was kind of a big polka dot. It's all right. I can squeeze one more in there. And this is a very small brush, so it's easy to work with if you're trying to do small details. And of course, we've talked about this at school. If you're doing small things, you need a small brush. All right, and now I'm going to paint the bow tie itself. Maybe this brush will work quite well for that. The lighter blue. Okay. All right, almost done here, friends. And as we always say, if there's something else you would like to add into the background, that's always an option. Okay, because your kitty could be inside, your kitty could be outside. It's really up to you. All right, so now I'm going to use a little bit of red, and I have a little white here. It's actually cream, I think. And that's what I'm going to use to paint my kitty's nose and the tongue. All right, I'm using the small brush again because it's a smaller space. And let's see, I want the nose to be not quite so dark red, just a little bit lighter. All right, so here we go. Let's give our kitty a little red nose. And you can mix whatever color you would like. That's so much fun. We've all enjoy mixing colors. All right, so there's my kitty nose, and I'm gonna make my tongue just a little lighter, more pink. I don't know about you. Your friend's Kitty's tongue. Ours is more pink, I think. All right, so there's her little tongue. And she's a happy kitty. All right, so the last thing we need to do is add whiskers. And I think what Sophia was saying, that maybe it's good to have some parts of your project dry. So I think mine is pretty dry. There might be one little wet spot there, yeah. So I'm gonna add some whiskers. This side seems to be dry, but you might wanna wait a little bit of time to add your whiskers just to make sure that it's dry. Okay, so we're gonna add whiskers on this side and hope that we don't spread too much paint on this side. Oh, it's fine. Okay, so we've got whiskers.
Cute.
And we've got, hopefully, what you like as a funky cat. All right, so that's kind of it for today, my friends. Let's turn this one around so we can see our two samples. We've got, there we go. I don't know if you can reach those bows. Should I go the long way, so?
No, that was perfect.
Okay, all right.
That's
There we go. All right. So, that's it for today, friends. Have a good time, and I'll see you next week. Bye.